there were posters people were carrying of Mahatma Jyotiba Phule, and Mahatma Jyotiba Phule had that pagdi thing, right? And when these people you talk to, they say, oh, who is this Sikh guy? See, these are the people who are like, of course, there are some caste who kind of, even in India, who work with BJP, who think it's going to be very, very challenging to kind of educate them. But to talk about, they can't even recognize a photo of Mahatma Phule shows what kind of awakening that these people need to read Ambedkar. These people need to read Mahatma Jyotiba Phule. These people need to be explained how they are suffering, and only they will be able to rise. Like Dr. Ambedkar said, you have to explain to the bonded laborers what the suffering they are going through. Only then they will rise against those sufferings.
Okay, Jagam sir, can you provide some background on your involvement with the Ambedkar International Center?
Right. Thank you. Thanks, Manish, for this opportunity. I am a spokesperson for Ambedkar International Center. Ambedkar International Center is a human rights organization based in United States. It was established in 2014. We have about 14-acre land, and in fact, the statue unveiling is going to happen on 14th of October. That's just in this weekend. So this organization is actually there for canvassing, for lobbying the human rights, for especially of Dalits. These are the people who are Ambedkarites from all over India who have traveled to US. Some of them have settled, some of them are on the visas. But this organization comprising of people from all over India, Uttar Pradesh, Andhra, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, is providing this support for various agitations that are happening. And then, of course, Ambedkar International Center filed amicus brief in the Cisco caste discrimination case. Ambedkar International Center also provided help during the COVID pandemic in India, and it's very active in the recognition of a caste as a category, protected category in the US.
Sir, can you share more information about this vetoed anti-caste discrimination bill SB 403 by Governor Gavin Newsom of California?
So, of course, we are all very disappointed in the way governor has kind of vetoed this bill. We hoped the bill, which has been passed by 2/3 majority in both the houses, in Senate as well as the Assembly, the California Senate and California Assembly, we expected the Governor Newsom to approve the bill. However, he has vetoed, and we are obviously a lot of Ambedkarites and Ambedkarite organizations are kind of disappointed. This bill was brought in a little bit of hurry immediately after the Seattle caste discrimination case that the ordinance was passed in Seattle. We thought we could have kind of severed that victory for a few days, learned from it, but the bill was kind of rushed in the California, and we thought Democratic Party being in the supermajority in California, we thought the bill will be able to kind of go through. We provided support. We worked with Aisha Wahab and various other civil rights organizations. We have formed America Against Caste Discrimination, a coalition of about 20 plus human rights organizations, including Hindus for Human Rights, Indian American Muslim Council, Ambedkar International Center obviously has been part of it, Ambedkar King's Study Circle, Coalition of Seattle Indian Americans, Boston Study Group, Indian Ambedkar International Mission. All of these 20 plus organizations have worked together for supporting bill. We must also acknowledge the Ravidasiya community, which has come in large numbers, have traveled extensively whenever needed to Sacramento. The Sacramento local Ravidasiya community also has kind of worked. The bill has had kind of run through about 8 to 9 months so far. And due to this long sustained campaign we were able to kind of carry primarily because of the Ravidasiya community. We really hope that he would pass, but the way the bill was initially introduced as a caste as an independent category, but later on it passed as such in the Senate. But when it came to Assembly, they kind of brought it because of the compromises with the politician. It was brought, the caste was brought under ancestry. It's a See, race also comes under ancestry, but race is a standalone category. Whereas the compromise was reached with some of the Democrats, of course, the Hindu American Foundation, various Hindu right-wing groups, the Hindutva organizations were obviously opposing. They continue to want to kind of deny that caste exists. They say that talking about caste is denigrating Hinduism. We say whether it denigrates, whether it obviously caste is a integral part of Hinduism. As Dr. Ambedkar said, Hinduism is nothing but a collection of castes. Caste is a reality. However, the Hindutva groups will continue to say that the caste doesn't exist. Talking about caste is insulting Hinduism, so it is anti-Hindu, so it is anti-religious. Religion being a protected category, that's their stance, which is completely wrong. Race is also based on ancestry, but still race is an independent category. We wanted caste to be an independent category. With this compromise, once the caste came under ancestry, the governor said that caste is already covered because the ancestry is covered, so we don't need to kind of. However, it is really important. We really wish he should have kind of approved. If the truth be told 100 times, it should be told. There is no harm in retelling it once again. When it came to Cisco caste discrimination case, the defense of Cisco was the caste is not a protected category. And now you are telling that the caste is already protected. How? Where? Unless this bill is passed, which calls out caste explicitly, it wouldn't, courts will not recognize. We still do not know how the courts now recognize, what the court's decisions will be. So we are disappointed. This is not how it should have happened, but that's the reality.
So these laws that are being passed in United States, how do you think these laws will help Dalits who are living currently in India?
Right. All the work, caste related especially, and some of the other canvassing that we do in the US is primarily to benefit the brothers back here in India. Whatever work we do, it kind of gets multiplied because the impact on the news, etc., is very high. It gets carried out into the TV channels and the newspapers, and people talk about it. That's the way we see. When we talk about actual impact, India has a stronger laws in terms of caste atrocity. However, that law is primarily for violent crimes, rural crimes, physical fights, name calling, beatings, and things of that nature. The subtle discrimination that happens in the corporate sector, that there has not been a single Cisco-like case in India. Let's face it. If we were to bring a Cisco-like case, it will not go anywhere, because the way judges rule, the way judges interpret the Atrocity Act is, unless you have been kind of beaten, you have been called names, dragged, and things like that, it's not under atrocity. So the subtle discrimination is certainly not covered. If we look at all the Indian companies, none of the Indian companies has mentioned caste in its discrimination policy or anti-discrimination policy. None. Whereas because of Cisco caste discrimination case, even before some of these activism, the caste activism, the thing started, various universities voluntarily have started including caste in its policies. Various companies have started including caste in their policies. To name a few, Apple has it, Facebook has it, IBM has it, even Cisco has included caste in the. So what does it mean when we include the caste in the discrimination policy? When the people are inducted into the companies, they are told that you cannot ask certain questions. You cannot try and find out any leading question that will reveal the caste of the person being interviewed. And of course, once hired, you cannot discriminate based on caste. And if any such violation were to happen, you will face the consequences. So all of that training, currently we have had situations wherein in the interview, people are being asked, what is your caste? Or there are attempts to find out caste. After you join, they want to know, why are you eating non-veg? Why you are not seen in temple? What are your gods? There are instances wherein people are tapped onto their left shoulder to check whether the guy is wearing a thread, janevu. These kind of things the blatant discrimination would stop. So in that sense, these laws in the US, which covers subtle discrimination in the corporate, are ahead of even India. And hopefully, a lot of these companies kind of work in India as well. So once they induct their caste in their policy there, they have no choice but to include the same here as well. And then the people here in India working in their companies cannot be discriminated. So those fallouts will be there. There, of course, if we were to hope, there is something called equal opportunity employment. So therefore, we cannot not only kind of discriminate, but once you hire, you should hire in kind of proportion of their population. So under the same laws, if that were to be extended here, we know that there is no reservation in the private sector. But using the US law, using this caste as a category, as a anti-discrimination category, if these companies were to really play truthful to these policies, they should hire the scheduled caste people in the proportion, the way it is there in the government, all voluntarily. So there are good implications there, really. We hope so.
How do you look for the way forward? What is the
Yeah.
strategy?
Yeah. So like I said, in case of, we didn't, this bill we felt is little rushed. We felt that the Seattle victory could have been kind of savored a little. The implications could have been understood. The training to the corporates could have been done, at least those for the companies like Amazon and others that are in Seattle, right? There could have been a lot of learning before we kind of attempt a large state like California. Now going forward, we would want to kind of again go to some of the cities, see the smaller states. We have had, we are talking to a lot of universities. Those universities, there are good conversations. Universities tend to be a lot more sensitive to some of these. So universities have been obviously kind of including the caste in their category and so on. And we also want to attempt to few smaller cities now before we kind of attempt a larger state. That's the way. There is a lot of introspection. This rejection is just 3 days old. There is a lot of introspection that is going on amongst the organization. Are we able to kind of mobilize lot? See, the enemy is very big. We are small. Our people who are migrating to US are late and much fewer in number. There are the Indian population currently in the US is roughly about 2%, which is roughly around 4 or 5 million people there in the US, and we are very minuscule. So when the opposition comes, opposition has a lot of money power. We hear that the lot of money has been promised to the Democratic candidates and so on as the elections go on. So we cannot match all of that. We cannot match them in numbers. We cannot match them in money. The way we want to do going forward, and like I said, the thinking is still going on, introspection is still on, but we want to build a muscle wherein we are able to bring a lot more people out in the open. Currently, a lot of this was, the burden was carried out by the Ravidasya community. We want lot of IT workers who are there to kind of come out. A lot of women who are there to come out for some of these protests. People are a little afraid. People are on the immigration visas and things like that. So people are afraid whether it will impact their careers, whether their visas will be cancelled. So those fears are genuine. There is no denial there. However, like we wanted to, when the Google talk was cancelled of Kanmodi Soundarajan, we wanted to protest in front of Google headquarters. And what we wanted to do was wear the mask of Dr. Ambedkar, just to not reveal your identity and things like that. But we want people to come in a larger numbers. Numbers is going to be a numbers. We also want Savarna organizations that work with us, the Hindus for Human Rights, the ICWI, Indian Civil Watch International, IAMC, Indian American Muslim Council, some of the Sikh organizations that we expect them also to kind of carry a lot of load by supporting. Of course, they say that this is a Dalit issue, so we will be in the background, we will support. But then we do not have the numbers. They really need to kind of also pick up the bulk of the load. We really need to build a ground level mobilization wherein we cannot be talking to the Democrats or the politicians, because the politicians will eat us for breakfast and lunch. We need to have a loud campaign, standing independent. This is the right thing to do. Please do it. As Kshama Sawant says that. Kshama Sawant had a lot of advantage because she had a grassroots movement there. When it came to CANRC, the Seattle City Council was the first one to pass that resolution. So a lot of Muslims are with Kshama Sawant. When it came to farmers' protest, there were a lot of Sikh guys and there were a lot of supporting agitation that happened in Seattle, and Kshama was part of it. So a lot of the Sikh people were part of it. A lot of workers, the white-collar workers, Kshama has worked for 15 hours minimum wage act in Seattle. So a lot of workers also work with her. And she was able to bring all that strength in the movement. Similarly, we really need to kind of build, we need to kind of bring our IT workers, we need to bring women. We need to bring. We need to build the coalitions with the African American, with the other minorities, and draw that strength, convince the things, have a loud, independent, grassroots kind of campaign to shame these people, to make sure that this is the right thing to do. Pass it.
There are news headlines that Dalit groups are celebrating this vetoed SB 403. So, who are these Dalit groups?
Oh yeah, yeah. So they call it, I think, Ambedkar, Phule, and things like that. But when it comes to this, there were posters people were carrying of Mahatma Jyotiba Phule, and Mahatma Jyotiba Phule had that pagdi thing, right? And when these people you talk to, they say, "Oh, who is this Sikh guy?" See, these are the people who are like, of course, there are some caste who kind of, even in India, who work with BJP, who think it's going to be very, very challenging to kind of educate them. But to talk about, they can't even recognize a photo of Mahatma Phule, shows what kind of awakening that these people need to read Ambedkar. These people need to read Mahatma Phule. These people need to be explained how they are suffering, and only they will be able to rise. Like Dr. Ambedkar said, you have to explain to the bonded laborers what the suffering they are going through. Only then they will rise against those sufferings. So there is a lot of task that needs to be done. But they are, at the same time, they are very minuscule minority. Make no mistake there.